Yo, what's up, guys? Man, what a game last night between the United States and Canada. What a spectacular game it was last night, guys. But I have to say, the entire Four Nations tournament was an absolute spectacle. I thought the NHL did an absolutely spectacular job planning this tournament together, guys. Now, obviously, this was something new for us. The Four Nations tournament, the inauguration season for the Four Nations tournament, of course. First time without an all-star game, and it was absolutely amazing, guys. I think we could all agree that this was a breath of fresh air for us fans. Watching Canada versus the US, you had Sweden, you had Finland, and it was just some great hockey that we got to see these last 8 days. Now, obviously, the first game, Canada-Sweden, was great. For finally, we saw some best-on-best hockey for the first time since 2016. You saw Crosby with that beautiful backhand go to McKinnon in the first game to start off the tournament with the first goal. It was great. Canada took a commanding lead against Sweden. Sweden came back, we saw. Then we saw Marner come up big in overtime. That was huge for Canada to get 2 points in the overtime win, of course. Then we saw U.S. and the Finns. We saw the U.S. dominate the Finns, of course. And then we all saw what happened Saturday night with Canada and the U.S., 3 fights in 9 seconds. Absolutely incredible game. The atmosphere was electric in Montreal. The pace was incredible. The goal McDavid scored, the backhander on Hellebuck erupted the Bell Center, and then obviously the U.S. came back to win that game. Credit to the U.S. They were really good in that game. And then obviously we saw the U.S. squawking a little bit after that game, saying how, that they're here to take over now, the next era, all this nonsense. And the Canada's men team, they were calm. McDavid said there's a lot of hockey left, and Connor was bang on about that. Obviously, we saw last night. Then we obviously had the Finland game with Canada. Obviously, it was a bit scary, of course. Canada took a commanding lead, and then Finland came back, made it real close at the end there. But obviously, Crosby with that big play at center ice with the hit, and then getting the empty net goal to seal the win for Canada. To meet the Americans in the rematch game last night, of course. U.S. had already clinched their spot in the final, of course, but Sweden had beaten them, right? The only game that the U.S. lost in, other than, of course, last night. The U.S. weren't really trying in that game against Sweden. And then we obviously had the final, guys, last night, which was spectacular, to be honest, right? And obviously with everything going on with Trump and the tariffs and the 51st state nonsense, this game here was a lot more than just a hockey game, I felt, guys. Pride was on the line. Bragging rights was on the line. Obviously, the first time Canada and USA were playing each other in a final since the 2010 Winter Olympics in Vancouver. We all know what happened then. Sidney Crosby with the golden goal against Ryan Miller, of course, right? But this game here had a life of its own. It was a spectacular game from the start. We saw McKinnon with the opening goal. The Boston, of course, they booed the anthem, right? We booed the anthem in Montreal, of course, So things were tense, of course. McKinnon scoring the goal, really showed Canada that they were there to play and get the win, obviously. We saw McKinnon score. Then Brady Tkachuk scored, right? It was a very nice goal by Austin Matthews to give him the assist coming around the net there in front. Canada were playing really well, I thought, in this game, guys. Obviously the U.S. have great players as well, and they imposed their will in this game at times. Obviously they took the 2-1 lead, but then Sam Bennett, of course, and then Mitch Marner, Toronto Maple Leaf, of course. Great pass to Sam Bennett to tie the game up to make it 2-2. And you knew going into the third, whoever's going to score the next goal was probably going to win this game. Obviously, it was just no goals in the third period, obviously. And then we got to overtime. And man, oh man, you got to give John Cooper a lot of credit for putting Mitch Marner back on the line with Connor McDavid. That really changed the game. McDavid started playing a lot better once Marner went on his line. And then we obviously saw the face-off draw. Makar put it back out there to the corner there to Marner. Marner finds McDavid wide open in the slot. And Matthews obviously made that slight mistake with going to Marner instead of covering McDavid. We saw McDavid with that snipe, beating Connor Hellebuck, giving Canada the win. But Canada do not get this win, guys, if it wasn't for Jordan Binnington. My God, Jordan Binnington was absolutely immense in this game last night. My God, he was spectacular, especially in the third and in overtime. Binnington made some vital saves, especially on Matthews. Like, imagine us Leaf fans watching this game, seeing Matthews score an overtime winner in TD Garden for the USA. My God, I would have been sick to my stomach if you asked me, guys. Binnington robbed him multiple times, with the blocker and the glove, stoning Brady Tkachuk. He made some immense saves. Jordan Binnington won a cup in TD Garden back in 19, shutting out the Boston Bruins. So he's been comfortable in that building in the past, and what a job he did. Obviously, the critics, obviously there's some skepticism about Binnington being the number one goalie. He had given up a couple softies against the Americans, obviously the Swedes, the Finns. He gave up some softies, right? It was justified to have some skepticism about him, but he shut everybody up, came up big when he needed to most, got Canada to where they needed to be, guys, and McDavid scored that beautiful goal with that spectacular assist by Mitch Marner. 2 assists from Mitch Marner in that game last night, guys. Matthews had some great moments in that game last night. I thought he was one of the better players for the Americans last night. So the Maple Leaf boys, they showed out last night. They played really well in a big game. Now let's hope they can do it for the Maple Leafs in the future, guys. But I will say this, though. Remember who we are. Just remember, we are the biggest hockey nation in the world. Okay, the Americans, listen, they're great. But we have the winning pedigree when it matters most. Guys, Canada had 14 Stanley Cup winners on their team. Compared to the Americans, they only had 2. Okay, that was the major difference. I felt Canada had the guys that knows what it takes to win, guys. Canada found a way to win. Defensively, they were really sound, Canada, at times. Obviously, you had some errors here and there, but that's a part of the game. But Canada were flawless at times in this game. I thought they were really good. You got to give a guy like Thomas Harley a lot of credit coming into this game with Josh Morrissey, getting hurt, getting sick during his nap. That was very shocking for a lot of people. Morrissey had been really good in this tournament, and then to see Harley, who had played really well in the past game, he came in, played really well for Morrissey, and I thought he was really good. He had played for Makar against the States. So Harley had some minutes under him with the Canadian team, and I thought he did a really good job last night replacing Morrissey. I thought Devon Toews and Makar were spectacular last night. They were really good. The whole team was solid. This is best on best. You're not going to find too many mistakes when it comes to best on best. But Canada capitalized on the one mistake the Americans made. It was unfortunate that it was Austin Matthews who made that slight error, but McDavid with the snipe, and Canada goes on to take the gold medal, shutting up the Americans once again, showing who the bigger nation is when it comes to hockey. And now listen, the Americans, they're coming, but Canada ain't going to sit around. We will still continue to develop talent. Canada is still the supreme hockey nation when it comes to playing this game, and the Americans continuously forget that. So once in a blue moon, the Canadians got to show them who the big dog is when it comes to playing hockey. Now, guys, listen, the Americans, like I said, they got great talent. Obviously, Austin Matthews, captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, captain of the American team. They got great talent like Brady Tkachuk and Matthew Tkachuk. Those guys there, they did squawk a bit. Brian Marchand didn't mention it. It did bite them in the ass a lot. But, like I said, guys, Canada went the mature route, kept their mouths shut, and they did it on the ice, and that was spectacular to watch. The entire tournament was amazing. The NHL did a spectacular job with this tournament. I don't know when they're going to do it again, because we obviously got the Olympics next year. That is going to be absolutely intense. In Milan, Italy, guys, that is going to be amazing to watch. Hopefully we get another gold medal game between Canada and the U.S., because that'll be so electric. That'll be so intense, man. I would be so pumped to see this exact rematch in 12 months' time, guys, in Milan, Italy. It would be amazing. But listen, guys, give John Cooper a lot of credit. The coaching staff were amazing. The management got it right with their player selection, of course. Now, obviously, the goaltending was the biggest focal point, but that ended up shutting everybody up with the way Binnington performed in this tournament, guys. Came up big in the last game, a championship game. Canada did what they had to do, showed America why we are the best hockey nation in the world, guys. Defeating the Americans in Boston in their in one of their home stadiums, playing the national anthem at TD Garden. As a Leaf fan, it's been an absolute nightmare going to TD Garden. To finally see some luck turn the other way was fucking amazing to watch, guys. Now, guys, hopefully we can see the four nations sooner rather than later, of course, guys. Now, the NHL season starts back up real quick. Tomorrow, the Leafs play the Carolina Hurricanes, so they get right back at it. But what a spectacular tournament by the NHL, and what a spectacular finish, and no better finish than watching Canada finish on top. Connor McDavid getting his golden moment, similar to Sidney Crosby, what he had 15 years ago in Vancouver. McDavid had it last night in Boston. What an amazing game, guys, last night was. The tournament was great. Matthews and Marner, they performed well. I hope to God that they can perform like that in a playoff run this year for the Maple Leafs, guys, because if the Leafs can go deep with those two guys, it would be great to see. But great job by the NHL. Great win last night for Canada, defeating the Americans. Great tournament in general, like I've been saying, guys. Spectacular game. Guys, that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. As always, guys, click like if you like this video. Subscribe if you guys want to see more content. Oh, Canada, guys. And remember, if you do not watch sports, you're a mort. Ciao, guys.